Life's always been very good to me. I've always had great friends, a great family, and when I was 25, I met the girl that I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. We travelled together, had a baby, got married, we're planning another baby too. I realise now that everything was perfect. That was until last November when suddenly my life changed forever. We'd just left a friend's house. My wife and I had put my son in his pushchair and taken a couple of steps down the road. My wife just 2 paces behind me, when a car mounted the pavement and struck her. She was killed. Nothing could have prepared me for the mixture of emotions that we've both been going through since that night. My grief has completely consumed me ever since my wife died. The only time I really stop thinking about mine is when my son's consumes me. It's not something that you can ever really get distracted from. My son was just 2 years old when his mummy died. Just 3 weeks earlier, we'd been celebrating his birthday as a family of 3. Suddenly we've shifted from that family of 3 to just a duo battling the confusion, the anxiety, the stress, all of the different emotions of grief. All of a sudden he was asking me, where's mummy gone and why can't she come back? How do you answer questions like that? Those questions were never something I needed to worry about though, because stuff like this doesn't happen to people like me, right? Sadly, I learned the hard way that it does. My wife, my little boy's mummy, someone's daughter, someone's granddaughter, was hit by a car that mounted the pavement. She wasn't even trying to cross the road. She did nothing wrong. So what was I to do next? I guess, like most people in life these days, I wanted quick fixes, answers and resolutions. But grief doesn't work like that. My life's never been harder than it is right now. It goes without saying that if I could wave a magic wand and bring my son's mummy back, bring my wife back, I would, but I can't. I've never lost a parent, so all of this is really new to me. I'm still not sure how I'm going to deal with the questions that I'm going to get from Jackson for the rest of his life, but I know that I have to. You see, you wouldn't ignore a child if they'd broken their arm, so how could you ignore a child's broken heart? I guess the crippling thing for me was that it was the first time in my son's 2 years that I didn't feel like I could make things right, that I didn't feel like a cuddle was actually going to be enough, because it's really complicated. And that's where organisations like Grief Encounter come in. About a week after my wife died, I had a conversation. It's harder than I thought. After my wife died, I knew immediately that I didn't want to be seen as a victim. I guess I tried to be a hero, but you can't be when you're grieving so hard. Sometimes you need support. The thing I've begun to learn is that children and adults aren't that much different when it comes to grief. It just shows itself in different ways and at different times. We both want to be treated in the same way. We want support and we want empathy. We want people around who care and people that are there for the long term as well. What we really need when we're going through grief is deep understanding and care, and we need to be met without judgment. It isn't something that stops after a year or after 2, especially when you're a 2-year-old child. What we all need when we're going through the pain of grief, child or adult, is for a lot of the madness to be explained, for the isolation to be explained as well. You feel so many different emotions at a time like this, and they can be very complicated for adults. Just imagine how that feels for a child. The key thing for bereaved families is to try to find ways for them to remember the person who's died. For children, it's especially important for them to find ways to learn that the world can be a safe place, that they can learn to trust again. And that's how Grief Encounter can help. In my experience of grief, adults want to believe the children are okay. They want to believe it's so hard that they're willing to lie to themselves, that they're willing to brush a child's grief under the carpet. That's not something I'm going to do for my son. Jackson and I know that helping a bereaved child starts with funding. So for anything you could give, we thank you.